Hi there, my name is Danny O'Dwyer and I'm from a small town in the southeast of Ireland. And the chances are, if I was to guess, I'd say you've probably never heard of it. But you probably have heard of where I work, GameSpot.com, one of the biggest video game websites in the world. And it's here that I'm very fortunate enough to be able to say that I go to work 5 days a week to make videos about video games, to host them, to present them, to produce them, to record podcasts, all about the thing that I love more than anything, video games. But how did I get from that small town in the southeast of Ireland to here in California, where I get to do this wonderful job? Well, for one, it took a long time. It took around 4 to 5 years for me to break in, and all the way during that time I was asking people within the industry one question: how do I break in? What is it I need to do? What are the tips? What are the advice you'd give me? And since I've broken in, and I've been doing this for about 4 to 5 years, I've had that same question asked of me more than anything else on an almost daily basis, over Twitter and Tumblr and email. And obviously, being in that position for so long, I always reach out and try and answer that question, and it's different for every person. And obviously it's also a moving target, because games industry is a lot different than it was 5 years ago when I broke in. When I broke in, YouTube was on the uprise and Twitch didn't even exist yet. But I still think that I have some advice that I would still say to people today in 2016 if they were trying to break into the games industry. So if you are, this video comprises of, I guess, my sort of main tenets, my main 3 tenets of what you should do if you want to break into the games industry, or if you want to give yourself the best chance to break into an industry in which so many people are trying to break in now. Tip number 1, practice, 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 practice. If you want to be a writer, write. If you want to make videos, make videos. This may seem like the most obvious advice in the world, but the amount of people who try and break into this industry off the basis of having passion for video games, is unbelievable. That's not going to get you in. You need to be able to do the work. You need to be able to write. You need to be able to make videos. You don't have to have a degree in this. Most people who work in the game, and I mean most people who work within online games media, don't have degrees in journalism or video production. I was a software developer. I was a web developer long before I was doing this sort of stuff. If you go through all the people who work in the office in the UK I used to work in, we used to have chemists, biologists, we had a mathematics major. People don't study journalism or video production to get into video games. If you are doing that, great. That's actually going to be a feather in your cap, but you don't need that. You should have a degree, though. A degree is a very good way of showing an employer that you're able to stick something out and that you have the sort of resolve to get the hard work done. So I have a degree in multimedia applications development. I've literally not used it since I left college, and that sort of helped. But if you're not within any sort of media or journalism or video program in third level education, don't let it get you down. Don't worry about it. Most of us didn't have that either. But you want to practice for loads of other reasons than that. You want to understand what you like. You want to create a safe, creative space for you to try different things and for you to figure out what exactly it is about editing or writing you enjoy, and the types of things you would like to make videos about and the types of things you would like to write about. It's also obviously critically important for improving your craft, for getting good at it. And this is where another sort of aspect of writing and practicing comes into account: getting feedback. Everything you make, whether you're writing it or video or whatever it is, put it out there, publish it, put it somewhere. This works for 2 different reasons. One, you've got a portfolio. If somebody comes looking for work, you've got all your shit out there. You've got, 12 months, 24 months, 3 years, 4 months worth of work that you can show an employer. Look, I've been doing all this stuff. This is all the stuff I've done. Even if the early stuff is bad, don't worry about it. It shows some sort of progression, and that's important. And another reason publishing is good is because it's going to give you feedback, and the positive feedback is as important as the negative. The positive is going to be that thing that sort of soothes your confidence when you're doing all this work on your own and not many people are watching it. It's going to make you feel better about it, and it's going to give you that confidence boost you need to make the next video. And the negative impact is critically important because it'll help you get better. Even if it's not what they're saying, even if people are being negative and trolly for the wrong reasons, you can usually figure out something within that negative feedback that you can learn from. And of course, the best person to give you negative feedback is also yourself. When you make a video, you rush it out and you put it up there and you're like, oh, I would have changed this and this and this and this. That's part of practicing. It's about putting yourself out there, making the thing that you can make right now with all your creative energy, looking at it and then going, okay, this is what I'll do differently, and then doing it. That sort of progression makes you good at your job. And then the last thing about practice is reading other people's work, watching other people's work, and not just in video games. One of the tips you'll always hear from people who work in this industry is read stuff that isn't about games, or watch videos that aren't about video games. Most of the stuff that I've made has not been based on other people's videos about video games. It's mostly been based on stuff like I've seen on television, like Charlie Brooker, for instance, a massive influence on The Point. Joe Rogan's podcast is a massive influence on The Lobby. So there's loads of different ways that you can get feedback, and one of the most important things about creating work and getting better at work is taking in feedback and taking in influence from other places too. So that's one of the most important things to do while you're practicing, is to make sure that you're taking in different types of media, which will help you get better at the stuff that you make. Tip number 2, get all this stuff and put it in front of an audience. Obviously, I've talked about the publishing stuff to get feedback. That's critically important, but try and build that audience as well. If you are making videos, get yourself a YouTube channel. Try and build a subscriber base. Don't worry about view counts too much. Make sure that watch time is going up. Make sure you're engaging with your audience and try and build it off that. And it is hard. I'm a good case in point. During my work week in GameSpot, I'm pretty good with timing stuff. We get the point up every 2 weeks. We get the lobby up every Tuesday. We do work within that time. When I'm trying to make YouTube videos at home, which is probably what you're going to be doing if you've got a full-time, college thing or job, it can get difficult. So try not to overburden yourself with the amount of stuff that you make. But whatever you make, put it out there. Build that audience. Get people excited about what you're doing. Listen to them and evolve that way. And I guess for people who want to break into what I do, which is the traditional games press or the online games press, one of the most important things to do is actually not just building any sort of audience, but building the right audience, getting it in front of people who will be able to give you jobs. Find out who video producers are and, games websites that you like. Find out, people who are influential within various circles that might be able to get you jobs. And this can feel a little bit weird. It can feel like some sort of skeezy social engineering thing, which is why you have to be very, very careful about how far you push this. Don't burn bridges. I have seen more people in this industry push too hard, be too heavy-handed over Twitter, or be just overly enthusiastic in the completely wrong way with a prospective employer and have completely burnt that bridge forever. That's a switch that you only get to flick once and it does not flick back, so don't be too pushy. But make yourself easy to employ. If there's one thing that's more stressful than looking for a job, it's trying to fill a job position. Managers hate it. They want to get the best client. So if you can serve yourself up on a platter, if you can have a portfolio of work which is really good and you can act professionally and courteous and you can be available to them, then you're going to make that easy. In my case, that meant moving country. In my case, that meant moving from the south of Ireland to London to make sure that I was available when the job came. And also, it didn't work for me first time. I failed at 2 askings to get jobs at GameSpot.com, and it wasn't until a video producer in the UK who was in charge of all the video had seen all the stuff I had done, reached out over Twitter and said, we have this gig going, that I finally got to break in. And those first 2 points are essentially the crux of what it takes to break into the online games press. Have a portfolio of work that is good and getting better, and get it in front of the people who are influential enough to give you a job. If you can do the 2 of those, you've got a very, very good chance of breaking into this industry. So what's the third tip? Why is there another tip if I already gave you the 2 tips you need to break into the games industry? Well, this comes from a sort of a different place. This comes from a place that you don't really realize you might need this until you're in the industry. I was very lucky that I was trying to break into this industry in my spare time, but already had a pretty stable job as a web developer to fall back on if it all went wrong. And that actually ended up being really important to me. That meant that I started at a more sort of a decent wage than I would have otherwise, because I had this other better paying job that I could come in on. It also meant that if anything went wrong, if the shit hit the fan and I was asked to do something that I didn't want to do, I had this backup plan. I had something else. I wasn't just, so thankful and lucky to be in this industry that then somebody might take advantage of me. And that's really important for a couple of reasons. One, it meant that I always knew I was doing this for the right reasons. It was because I loved it. 2, because if the shit hit the fan and somebody asked me to do something that I didn't want to, I wasn't going to be manipulated. I had a get out clause that I could just, go and leave and say ta-ta and go back to my other industry. And thirdly, and this is the worst part about giving this advice, most of you won't get in. That's the honest truth. I feel I have this massive survivor's guilt about getting in. I tried for almost 5 years to break in. I was done, but actually, by the time I got the job offer, I was done. I was moving to the Middle East. I was done with trying to break into video games. And it happened at the 11th hour that an offer came in. Most of you won't get in. Most of you watching this who want to break into the games industry won't get in. So have that backup plan, because life is so much more important than any one job. And I get it. I know the feeling. It's probably this itch on your back that you can't really get, and you know you're good enough for it, and you know you're passionate enough, and you know you put in the work. But the chances are, the heavy chances are is that you won't get in. So have something else to fall back on. This is a wonderful industry to work in, but it should not be the be-all and end-all of anybody's life. If you can't get in, go find something else to be passionate about. Make video games a passion that you don't get paid for. There's so many different ways to enjoy video games. And though I'd love to be able to say that every single person who watches this will get work in the industry, because the chances are every single person who's watching this deserves to have my job. I know that that's not the reality. I'm very, very lucky. Other people aren't. So have something to fall back on. And that's basically all the advice I can give in this one video, at least, without taking questions. And I'm open to taking questions. Everyone knows who follows me on Twitter. If you ask me a question about this, I will always respond. At Daniel Dwyer on Twitter. If you want to reach out via Tumblr, if you've got something longer to ask me, be it private, or you want me to answer it publicly, that's fine too. danieldwyer.tumblr.com. But I also ask you to put your questions in the comments right now as well, if you have any, because I'm going to do a follow-up video. I'm going to do a video which focuses on the specific questions that you guys would raise based off of this video. So if you have any of those, put them in the comments below. In a couple of days, I'm going to put them all together and answer those questions as well. Because I remember what it was like trying to break in for all that time. All you wanted was somebody who you could ask really simple questions of and get, direct answers from. I'm really lucky that I've now been in this industry for long enough where I feel like my responses are actually pretty accurate. So if you have any questions whatsoever, please, by all means, put them in the comments and I'll do them in a follow-up video. And thank you so much for watching this. I really appreciate it. This has been a question people have been asking me for years. Like I said, I have this weird, massive survivor's guilt thing about being in the industry, which is why I do all the videos I do, which is why I do stuff like The Point, which is why I've never taken money from publishers or done any paid for content ever, because I feel like I'm in such a privileged position to do this work, and I owe it to every single person who watches my videos to make sure I don't fuck about and that I do right by the position I've been given. So thank you so much for watching this video. Best of luck in your endeavors, and if you have any questions, I'm an open book. If you have any questions for the next video, put them in the comments below. Thanks so much, and I'll see you next time. Here.